Cliff May is a founder and president of the Foundation for Defensive Democracies and a columnist for the Washington Times and a host of the Foreign Policy Podcast. Cliff, your thoughts about what's emerged from the meeting yesterday?
Is disappointing. And I hope President Trump and his advisors will recognize that. Vladimir Putin did not negotiate in good faith. He also did a couple of things that were sending a message, and I want to point this out. He kept Trump waiting for this phone call for about an hour while he had a meeting with his oligarchs. He was told, you're late for this phone call. He said, yeah, essentially let him wait. And the other day when Stephen Witkoff was there, Stephen Witkoff was made to cool his heels for 8 hours while Putin met with Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, which is a vassal state. What Putin wants is not war. What Putin wants is victory. And victory to him means Ukraine becomes either a colony or a vassal state, or he may settle, and this may be the best that can be done, for taking about 20% of Ukrainian territory and Crimea for sure, and then the conflict freezes. That's probably the best that can be done. But in order to get to a better place than where we are now, President Trump needs to play the cards he has. He likes that metaphor. He has the better cards, but he has to play them, and he has to put some serious pressure on Putin, or Putin will not give an inch.
Right. And I think, okay, we're not going to hit infrastructure, but here's the thing. He's got to put leverage back on him, whether it's the money that's frozen or whether it's the promise to flood more weapons into Ukraine who do not want to quit fighting. And that's great leverage. You know, Ukraine's not asking for a ceasefire. We're asking Ukraine to have a ceasefire. So he go, look, I can't control these guys. And there's no way he should ever agree not to put foreign troops into the country because the hard part's done. The Europeans say they want to do it. So that'll be the tripwire.
That's exactly right. What this requires now is real pressure. President Trump has threatened on
I think we're going in and out. And by the way,
it's devastating. And that's absolutely right. But now he has to put that pressure on. This is not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy. Now it's a start to go back and forth. Now they're going to talk to Zelensky. My hope is, Cliff, that they're not going to just try to get a deal done because we don't even have the parameters yet to get a deal done. It's not even close to being ready. We also know this, that the one thing about waiting, I talked to Michael Walsh this morning. I said, is it true they let you wait for an hour? And he said, where'd you read that? I said, it's everywhere. Yeah. He said, 5 minutes.
Yeah. Not quite. No, Putin wants to win this. Putin wants to, I'm afraid, show that he's the stronger player. Putin is a very tough guy. We've talked about this before, Brian. He wants to restore the Russian Empire. He's the czar, and he wants to give nothing. If you put pressure on him, he probably will go for a ceasefire because very competent military analysts say he is running out of ammunition. His economy is suffering. And by the way, he doesn't have enough bodies to lay down to get additional inches of Ukrainian territory. So push him hard. He'll accept a ceasefire. But that means sanctions, really serious sanctions. My organization has a whole list of them that can be implemented immediately. Get the Europeans to do the same. And everything else that you said is right too. Additional arms flow to Ukraine and lift some restrictions on their use, targeting Russian military targets inside Russia.
Well, no longer allowing the exemption to let the Europeans buy their oil. That certainly helps the Ukrainians' cause. I want you to hear what else Michael Waltz said, cut 16.
It's not a matter of whether you necessarily believe. This is trust but verify. Yeah. This is tough negotiation. Putin's a tough character. We have no illusions about who we're dealing with. But both sides, it's in their interest to end the killing, to end the massive loss of lives and treasure and material, and play this forward a year, 2, 3 years. You know, how does this end except World War I style grinding warfare with World War III escalation consequences? It's in all sides' interest to stop it, and that's what we're driving towards.
So I guess it's a first step. They're going to talk to Ukrainians today. But the one thing that Putin's got to watch, what he might not fully realize, because he says some things that shows you he does not understand the American culture. if he starts if he starts clearly embarrassing Trump and not giving it all and saying Ukraine can't be refunded and they got to have elections, and he's not budging, Trump will be your worst enemy, because you can't even pretend that that's a good deal. If he agrees to any of those things, let alone all of it, everybody will be laughing at him, including those on his right. I don't think Mike Waltz and Secretary Rubio would be able to sign off on it.
I think that's absolutely right. You've got to recognize what Putin is attempting to do here, and he is going to, and you're going to have to play hardball against him at this point. And the best you can get probably is a frozen conflict. Look, we've frozen the conflict between North and South Korea for 53 years. That's an example. The Soviet Union tried to pull Finland into the Soviet Union, into the Russian Empire back in 1939. How did it end? 11% of Finland's territory was taken by Russia. But Finland retained its independence. All I want at this point is for Ukraine to remain a sovereign, independent political entity and culture, because what Trump does not want to happen is to see in Kyiv what we saw in Kabul when Biden pulled out.
Absolutely. So the other thing to keep in mind, too, and people are saying that Trump's leaving NATO and all these things, and he is upset with the organization. He felt it was unbalanced. We gotten educated, and he's much more right than not right. But I talked to the general secretary on and offline. He thinks that Trump's his best salesman because he's willing to step back. And now we see the German government legit, even though it hasn't been formed yet, voting to put $100 billion into their defense. France, Macron, UK, all these Western allies suddenly realize, even though they're saying disparaging things about us subtly and directly, they're doing what we want. And that's his learn to defend themselves.
That's exactly right. And you mentioned this, both the French and the British have said we're willing to send peacekeepers. That means uniformed soldiers after we get some kind of ceasefire. Of course, Putin doesn't want that. Of course, Putin's demands are that Ukraine be weakened so he can fire a kill shot. But this is a good time to have the Europeans take the lead on a couple of things. Peacekeepers, as you say, the $300 billion or so of Russian funds that are frozen, use them for reparations, use them for rearmament for Ukraine. And now America and its allies can work together to get a ceasefire. Mm-hmm. But Putin's not going to do this easily. You're going to have to play hardball. You're going to have to play the
Cliff,
cards you have.
Right, Cliff, let's go to another area of your expertise, the Middle East. Houthi rebels over the weekend took some serious hits from the U.S., killed about 53, but a lot of them were commanders, Houthi commanders. So we're not aiming for missile launchers. We're aiming for people. Did we make, from your estimation, did we make progress, do some damage? Because the Houthi rebels the next day sent drones after ships. And then yesterday, I understand, sent a missile into Israel.
They tried to send it into Israel. I think it landed in the Sinai by mistake. Yes, we're making progress there. Yes, this is very good. The Biden administration's strategy, if you can call it that, was to shoot at the arrows coming down, like over 170 missiles at Navy ships and about 145 at commercial ships. You don't want to shoot the arrows. You want to shoot the archers. And that's what we're doing now. Shooting the archers makes a big difference. Also, an intelligence ship run by Iran was sunk to the bottom of the Red Sea. So the Houthis don't have very good targeting information now, so their missiles are not going to hit.
So this that's a true story? We were trying to get that verified.
I think I understand that's true. I think I've got good reports on that. I think that's true. We can do more to confirm. Also, Trump has rightly said, the administration has rightly said that at some point that we are going to hold the Iranians responsible because they're making the arrows and sending them to the Houthis. They're denying it, but it's true. Rubble one factory where missiles and drones are being made for export to the Houthis, and you will make a big statement. This is also a message to the Islamic Republic of Iran saying we will use military force and we do not accept the possibility that you will become nuclear armed. If Iran becomes nuclear armed and it's in an alliance, a firm alliance with Russia, with China, with North Korea, they're cooperating militarily, diplomatically, politically, economically. That's an axis of aggressors that is really dangerous, and that has to be stopped.
Do you think that Iran doesn't fully understand that they have no missile defense? That Israel is more now prepared than ever to finish the job on their nuclear reactor and now has 2,000-pound bombs to do some serious damage? Do they not fully understand what Israel is capable of yet?
They understand it. They knew that the Biden administration wouldn't permit Israel to do that. They hope that Trump won't. The U.S. could destroy or at least set back by years the nuclear weapons development project that Tehran has within about 24 hours. The Israelis, it would take them a week or two, but they could do it with U.S. backing. They don't have the same bombs, they don't have the same planes, but it can be done. And there's about a 6-month window in order to do that, while the Islamic Republic of Iran is vulnerable because of what the Israelis did before, knocking out their S-300 defense systems and that. And those systems, of course, come from Russia. Again, for the war in Ukraine, Russia is getting bodies and munitions from North Korea, getting drones and missiles from the Iranians, and getting dual-use technology from the Chinese. This war is it's a world war in a certain sense. And Putin does not want to be humiliated. He does not want to be beaten, and he thinks he can beat Trump. And Trump has to show that's not the case because, believe me, Xi Jinping is watching, Kim Jong-un is watching, Ali Khamenei is watching.
President Xi is supposed to come to Mar-a-Lago, I believe, as early as April. Cliff May, fascinating time. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.